Alright, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Duty's Daggers, and today I wanted to talk about my most carried USA made knives. I have, let's see, 5 American made knives that I carry a lot. And some of these are just my most carried knives of any of my knives, not just American made. Um, all these knives I carry really quite a lot. And let's just go through the list. First one is probably not a obviously this is on the list, not a surprise to anyone. My Oz Machine Company Rosevelt, or the Rosie. This is one of my favorite all-time knives. I absolutely love this thing. I have number 1449. So this is the 1449th Rosie ever made. I love how he does the numbers that way. They only make one knife, and this is how many he's made up until the point that he made this one. I'm not sure what number they are up to now. They might be in the 2000s. I'm not sure. This is a relatively new one. Not sure if he's in the 2000s yet. I'd be interested to find that out. This is just one of my favorite knives. There's so many really amazing things about it that I'm not going to go into all of them right now. You can watch my full review if you want to kind of learn more about it. But in a nutshell, this thing is made to just such high standards. The finish over everything, the fitment, the tolerances are precise, and you know, it's just really well made, man. You can tell as soon as you flick it, it's extremely lightweight. That was my first thought when I picked it up is, holy crap, how is this so light? It's an incredible user. The way the belly kind of comes, or the belly starts way below the handle and then comes up to a tip that's almost right in line with the center of the handle, means that your knuckles are kind of out of the way for a lot of types of cutting. You can rock back on that belly and also still get to the belly when you want to do utility cutting. It looks good. This is the one with the radial milling pattern, and it's got this dark stonewash over everything, and it just looks incredible. Look at that. Look at that, dude. Are you kidding me? The pocket clip is amazing. It's got a really interesting double detent system. So there's two detent balls in here, and one of them's always on the tang. So when you go to disengage, it's just free swinging all the way down. It's not like a let's see. It's not like most other frame locks where you disengage and then the blade falls a little bit and then it hits this hump where the detent ball has to jump back up onto the tang. And then once you get it up on there, now it can swing shut. Since one is always on there, you don't have that. You disengage and it's just free sliding all the way down. It's a very snappy detent. Just such a unique feeling flicking this thing. It's ergonomically a masterpiece. Zero hot spots. It's so fun to use and carry, and I just think it's a really perfect EDC knife. Cost me a pretty penny, but I don't regret any of it at all. Next up, this was hard for me to pick because I have a lot of Spydercos that I like to carry a lot, but I think this one takes the cake. This is the Spyderco Native 5. And it's wearing some AWT aluminum scales and a MXG clip. And this is probably my favorite Spyderco. It's an incredible, incredible knife. And there's a lot of similarities between it and the Rosie. If we look at them together, both have similar amounts of blade. Actually, the Rosie has more, and that's because of the choke-up spot. You can see on the Native 5, the choke-up spot is mostly in the blade, and that means they had to take away some, sacrifice some edge in order to make the choke-up spot right here. But in the Rosie, the choke-up spot is mostly in the handle, not really in the blade. So they could make full use of this blade length and get the edge all the way down here, whereas the Native 5 almost kind of wastes it a little bit. But, it's still an absolutely amazing knife. It's a lockback, which some people won't like. I actually really like it. It makes a really nice, very loud, satisfying click that actually got louder once I put these scales on. Oh, it's just so satisfying rolling that thing out, and then got a really nice click closed. Again, that got louder once I put these aluminum scales on. It's such a good user. It's a low tip, but you got a little belly, thin blade stock. That it's not super thin back here, but it quickly gets thin toward the tip. This one's in Maximette, so we got a little patina going on. Yeah, this is my most carried Spyderco for sure. Ergonomically amazing. Yeah, please get a Native 5. I implore you. Let me put this right there. Okay, next, the newest acquisition out of all these, my Mcnees Mac 2 in jigged titanium. This thing's awesome, man. This is, I've only kind of recently wanted a Mcnees, and once I decided I wanted one, I really wanted one. I got to try one of my friend's Mac 2s, the same version actually, and I just knew I needed to have one. After I tried his, I searched around and found one, and I'm so happy that I got one, because this is a very simple but elegant and kind of badass. Well, I guess more badass than elegant, but it's simple in a good way. It's got no frills at all. I say the only real frills are the jigging, but I wouldn't say that's really frills. That's just kind of, jigging's been around forever. No lock bar insert, but it is a carbonized face on the titanium there. No over travel stop, so there's nothing. It's just a lock bar with a detent. The action is extremely smooth. This has skiffs in it, but even without the skiffs, like how it comes from them, it's really smooth. I mean, I don't think I have a more drop shut knife. It's just nuts. And the blade is pretty heavy, and that has something to do with it. It's so unique, and it's such a kind of industrial looking knife. Ergonomically, it's really good. Don't feel any hot spots. The clip is not totally deep carry, but I actually really like it. This does not cause a hot spot here, and it goes in and out of the pockets really nicely. This jigging is just incredible. Look at the jigging around the lanyard hole there. I just love how it looks like someone carved that away around the hole. They did such a good job. Whoever programmed this jigging into the computer did so good. No backspace, but you can buy one aftermarket from them if you want. The blade is not really the blade shape I usually go for, and I was really hoping this was going to slice good when I got it, and it does. Because I heard rumors that Mcnees are so thick. People get regrinds on them a lot. But actually, it's really pretty good, because it stays really thin back here, and then kind of gradually gets thick until about right here, and then it very quickly gets thick and turns into quite a thick tip. I mean, look at that thing. That is a thick ass tip. But it slices, man. This thing freaking slices. Just to demonstrate really quick, I'm going to measure back here behind the edge. We got 9 thousandths. Are you kidding me? And then if we go all the way to the tip, 28 thousandths. It's a huge difference, but it stays thin. Here, I'll show you that real quick. Even right up here, it's still 12 thousandths, and then even further, it is 16 thousandths, which is still thin for like a work knife. And then it just quickly gets thick, so it keeps the tip very unbreakable. That's cool, man. Usually when you have kind of a big bruise or work knife like this, it's just thick all over. But they ground this in a way that it slices, but the tip will never ever break off. So that's kind of cool. The one thing, though, a couple times carrying this, I wished it had a more fine tip, is when I'm like piercing into like a tape or like trying to get under something. Sometimes this tip is a little thick for that, but whatever. That's why I carry 2 knives. This thing's amazing. I'm really glad I have one. I love that they put the flag on there. This is a Magna Cut too, and it's a beast. Next, TRM. I've got a few TRMs, but the one I had to pick is the one that I carry the most. That's the Shadow. This, I think, is their best knife. It's really good. There's also a lot of really cool details on this one, too, that I'm not going to go into, but watch my full review if you want to learn all those things. But just a couple of them real quick are this just amazingly milled pivot right here. So cool. The way that there's actually like fluting on the handle that gets larger as it goes back here. Ergonomically amazing. Very thin blade stock, the thinnest on the table. This thing is an absolute slicer. This is one of the best cutters I own. And that's because of the thin blade stock, the tall, full flat grind, the sheep's foot blade, but with belly. This knife can kind of do everything. It's almost kind of like the Rosie, where you can get almost the full belly down on a surface without hitting your knuckles. In fact, I think you can even get more down on this because the blade's kind of angled up from the handle rather than down. It's just such a good cutter. It's got their crossbar lock. They call it a river lock. It's a crossbar lock, so you're not going to get a super snappy detent on it. As far as crossbar locks go, it's pretty average. But it's a very strong lock. I just love it, man. I love everything about this. It's in 20 CV, and they do so good with their 20 CV. It's some of the best stuff that I've tried. It seems like it keeps an edge forever. They do a nice wide edge bevel too. So, yeah, highly recommend. And they're becoming more and more available. It seems like they're pumping out more in recent months, so that's great. And lastly, the biggest one on the table, and probably the one I've wanted the longest. I saw these way back in the day when I first started collecting knives, and just wanted one so bad for so long, and then finally last year I got one. That's the Demco 8020. The full-size, American-made Demco 8020. This one's in brown G10. It's in 3V blade steel, and this is the clip point one. This thing is a beast, but it honestly doesn't feel that big using it because this thing freaking slices. You wouldn't guess looking at the blade stock. I mean, look at that. This is the thickest blade stock on the table. Thicker than the Mcnees, for sure. But we have a full flat grind, and it's thin behind the edge. Something about this thing just freaking slices. I don't know. It almost doesn't make a whole lot of sense because the blade stock is so thick. I don't know. I'm telling you, it does. You haven't experienced a shark lock until you've tried one of the big 8020s. It's a pretty big difference. It's a wider surface area. It's just easier on your finger. It sounds better. I don't know if you guys can hear the little mechanical clicking, tinging noise when it hits back here, when it closes. It's so good. This thing is such a beast. I think this might be like the toughest folder that I own. The shark lock is such a strong locking mechanism. Look at that huge stop pin too. This thing, if I was like going on a survival trip or something, I would probably carry this. There's just nothing that can go wrong, There's a coil spring in here, so it's not a spring that can break like an Omega spring. There's nothing that can go wrong. I mean, even a frame lock can like bend out or break. A crossbar lock, the Omega spring can snap. I guess backlocks are pretty reliable too, but a shark lock is just so strong and unbreakable that I think I would carry this if I was in a survival situation. The ergonomics are incredible. I love how he kind of has the 2 points here to kind of retain your hand in the handle. The choke up spot's really comfortable. He's got this really cool like double jimping. There's like big jimps, but then there's little jimps on those big jimps. It's really cool looking and is nice and gives a lot of traction. This is such a cool knife, man. And I put a deep carry lynch clip on it just because I wanted it to sit a little farther in the pocket. My dream is the full titanium one, but you know, after owning this one, I'm not even sure I want the full titanium really, because I wouldn't want it much, and this is pretty light, but I know the full titanium ones are pretty significantly heavier, and I almost kind of like this. I don't know. The full titanium one looks badass, like beautiful. This looks more like a tool and feels more like a tool, and that's what it is. I use this thing. It's not a safe queen. None of these are actually. The Rosevelt I don't carry at work because it is my most expensive knife. But if I'm not at work, on the weekends, at home, whatever, this is almost always in my pocket. This is kind of my off-work knife always. So anyways, that's it. Here's my my 5 most carried USA-made knives. These are all incredible in their own way. If I had to pick a favorite, shit, it'd be the Rosie. It would have to be the Rosie. I'm sorry. It's just, yeah. You know, but these are all good at different things. I mean, this is the big bruiser. This is the super slicer. This is the very good EDC knife, you know, small, great cutter. This is kind of the middle of the road between like a big bruiser and a great cutter. And this is, I mean, these two kind of serve the same purpose, just really good EDC knives. I mean, you could EDC any of these really, but you know what I mean. All right, that's it. I own more USA-made knives, but these are the ones I carry the most. They're just always in my pocket anyways, so that's it. Like the video, please, before you leave, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.